Hello, my name is Rachel Lanning, and for my hero project I chose my father. I chose him because throughout my life things have not always been easy, and despite all of the struggles, my dad has always been there for me. Through thick and thin, he has been by my side the entire time. He was my biggest support in anything I put my mind to, and still is to this day. So I thought that honoring him this way would be a perfect way to show my appreciation. I also chose to include the quote, 4 a.m. comes early, because my father, without fail for as long as I can remember, says it every day before he goes to bed. For my first color relationship, we have a monochromatic palette. For this specific relationship, I chose green, since that exact shade is my father's favorite color. I went with a fairly yellow-green as my midtone and darkened and lightened from there. However, I would find that choice would complicate things, as green and its complement red would give off a feeling that I didn't particularly agree with for this piece, which is why moving to my complementary, I shifted my green into a blue and used its complement orange. I personally love blue and orange in a color scheme, but it also reminded me of my dad's favorite football team, the Denver Broncos. Then we come to the split complementary relationship. For this I used Adobe Color and generated a combination around the original orange I used for the regular complementary palette, bringing me back to a green and adding shades of purple. While these colors aren't normally my first choice, I ended up quite liking this addition of a third distinct color, as it created more contrast. Moving on to my double complementary, I once again based my palette around the original orange. This led me to adding a reddish pink, a light yellow, and turning the purple into more of a dark blue. Despite normally gravitating to using a lot of contrasting and bright colors in my everyday art, I found this becoming a little too busy and ended up being one of my least favorites. Next is my analogous scheme. I went with a very warm palette sticking to reds and oranges. I knew this would give my work a completely different feeling from my previous color relationships, and I really wanted to play around with that. This becomes more obvious in my triadic relationship. For this scheme, I went outside of my comfort zone, choosing a dull purple and basing everything around that in a similar way to the previous relationships with orange, ending up with a bright blue and a faded yellow. While this is my least favorite of the options I made, I honestly don't dislike it as much as I thought I would originally. In the end, I chose my complementary color relationship. For me, the blue and orange went together best out of all my options. However, in order to make my scheme into screens, I realized I would have to simplify my design by quite a bit. To do this, I removed 3 different shades and 1 tint from my original orange and 1 shade of blue. This left me with 6 different Pantones compared to the required 4. While I know by keeping 6 separate colors I drifted away from the requirements a little bit. However, when I brought my work down to only 4 colors, I lost a lot of contrast and way too many details compared to the original. So in the end, I bit the bullet and just went for what I thought would give me a better result, leaving with 2 extra screens. Lastly, for my t-shirt, I placed my simplified final image and brought back the original darker blue from the complementary relationship as the tee's background color. As I stated in the introduction to my project, my dad has been a huge inspiration and supportive figure in my life. And with this, I hope I can give back for everything he's done for me. In the end, I tried to incorporate all the colors that reminded me not only of him, but his personality and supportive nature throughout my life.